नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। सो Thank you all very much for joining this final session of this seminar on the theme, Are you sure your bhakti is pure? So, would anyone like to summarize what we saw yesterday? You can please raise your hands. Yes, we have two hands up. Prabhuji, you can go first. I think you have the mic, Prabhu. Yeah.
We started with the sloka of Padisatmana.
Yeah.
And then asked what we are and it's a devotion.
Yeah.
Second option.
Hmm.
Then again, the third option, which derived from the Krishna and Shakti. Then we mentioned how like there are two kinds of business. Is the Krishna, is the condition, Swabhava. So if we look at Swabhava, then now we are practicing the pure devotion service practicing.
Yeah.
There is the pure Swabhava, pure Abhilasha.
Okay. Did he miss out on something? Yes, Prabhuji, you can add. You have two more hands up. You can add what has been missed out.
Yeah, like mainly started with the Acharyas and non-action. Some talks about the school aspect.
Anukulyena Krishna. Okay.
Then so here with from the characteristics. We follow the so faith, patience, the values is this and values. Whereas the conditioning part is this power. So another parts that.
Okay. Yes.
When you talk about Anu, then we continue. What is the meaning of Anu? Sadhana means what?
Okay. Anyone else would like to share? Prabhuji. After that, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead.
So basically, what was the extension of the baby Sadhana?
Yeah.
Purely emotional, just baby Sadhana. The Lord so deliberately agreed that we are all for baby Sadhana. So the Anu is not the continuity of the actions, but the continuity of the intentions of the faith. So that's the so
okay. Anything else? Did anyone miss out on anything? Anyone would like to? Mataji wants to add. Do we have one microphone for the Mataji's side?
Which is also but that is not just continuity with the Shanda, Kriya itself. So body, mind, and words. There's one without spiritual emotions. Most of the cases.
Okay. Yes. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
Devotional service is that exactly what we felt one time even then when we thought about the very sudden we felt okay
It seemed like that. And then we saw why it seemed like that, because let's see who fills in the blank properly. Why did mixed devotional service seem like Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? Because of dash. Yes, Prabhu. That one with blue shirt. Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we mixed devotional service, spiritual devotional service, with to get how to get violence or something, give an example like that. And to get
some material benefits.
Whereas in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, that is that's not the main goal, but we have those it's we have that, but
that's not our goal, but it's there in the form of desire, which acts as an obstacle to attaining our goal. Okay, very good. Any other points that we discussed yesterday which has been missed out? Stages of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya we discussed, right? How even in Anishtita Bhajana Kriya means, how if you take bhajan means, if you say bhajan means continuous, then Anishtita Bhajana Kriya is like an oxymoron. Because Anishtita Bhajana Kriya talks about how your bhajan is not continuous. But if it is not continuous, according to the definition, it should not be called as bhajan. So therefore, there has to be a different understanding of continuity. That continuity is continuity of faith, continuity of willingness, continuity of goal. These things are continuous, whereas the actions in themselves may not necessarily be continuous. Right? Correct. Okay. So basically yesterday we saw two main reasons why we felt that what we were practicing is not Uttama Bhakti. One is the problem of Anushilanam, not continuous. So we had a proper understanding of what continuity is. And then the second main reason why we felt that our practice is not Uttama Bhakti is Anyavilashita Shunyam. We felt that we do have a lot of material desires. So when we segregated desires born from Shraddha and Swabhava, the Abhilashas and Anarthas, we understood that actually our practice is Uttama, in the sense at least Uttama in the level of practice. Correct? That was the conclusion. So today we are going to see proofs from the Shastras. I will take few proofs only. I have a lot of proofs, but we don't have time. But before we start with the proofs, based on, see, sometimes what happens when we discuss a lot of concepts, at the first sight it may look like it makes sense. But later, when you go back home and think about it, maybe there are some things which may not fit in your understanding. So if there are any questions, discussion points based on what we discussed yesterday, which you feel needs more clarification, we can take before we go to the proofs. Anyone? You can pass the mic.
So there also Arupa is in the liberated stage, Shashtupa is in the creation stage, but still there is a continuity in the Bhajanakriya and body and words.
There is no continuity in the intention. Yeah, it's continuity in the intention. So when we say continuity in body, mind and words, actions born out of body, mind and words, it means the intention of engaging the body, mind and words in this thing, in Bhajana Kriya. That's what it means.
That's why you this term Kriya actually means action.
Correct. So Kriya also comes from Icha. So Kriya in its seed form is the Icha to perform that Kriya. So, therefore, that is also called, that is why destruction of karma is said to be complete only when the desire for performing that karma is destroyed. Otherwise, the destruction of karma is not considered to be complete. So, therefore, Kriya, the seed of Kriya is Icha. So, sometimes when the faith is there, that is why if you see Srila Rupa Goswami defines the qualification for bhakti as, anyone? What is the qualification for bhakti? Shraddha. Then after Shraddha comes Sadhu Sangha, then comes Bhajana Kriya. Right? So someone who has Shraddha but who has not yet started Bhajana Kriya is also considered a Bhakta. Because he has that Icha. So if Shraddha is the qualification for Bhakti, then Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam, even prior to Bhajana Kriya, should be considered as Sadhana Bhakti. Where the Icha is there, even though it may not have practically manifested. So if it is there means, it is there in the mind also. It is there in the mind. It may be there in the mind as active desire or in the form of regret for not being able to execute that desire. So, therefore, even when a person is not actively engaged in Bhajana Kriya, still it is considered to be continuous because either the Kriya is there or the Icha is there or the regret is there for not being able to do. That is the understanding. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Okay. You all got the question? You know, that is based on this Chaitanya Charitamrit verse, which is Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kohe Sudrida Nischay. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That is the verse. Okay. What is Shraddha? Shraddha means Sudrida Nischay, very firm conviction that just by practicing bhakti, everything is accomplished. Now someone may say, I don't have firm conviction, which means I don't have Shraddha. And guess what? You have to read just one or two verses later in that same Chaitanya Charitamrita section. He says, Shraddhavan jan hai bhakti adhikari, uttama madhyama kanishta shraddha anusari. He says. So, Shraddhavan jan hai bhakti adhikari. One who has this Shraddha. What is that Shraddha? Sudrida nischay. And then he says, Uttama madhyama kanishta shraddha anusari. And this Shraddhavan is divided into three categories. One who has Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. And who is a Kanishta? He says, Yo bhavet komala shraddha, sa kanishto nigadyate. One who has weak faith, soft, pliable faith, he is Kanishta Adhikari. But how did he define Shraddha? Sudrida Nischay. So how can Sudrida Nischay be Komal? This question arises. Correct? Therefore, Sudrida Nischay means it does not talk about strength, but it talks about purity. Sudrida Nischay Shraddha means that which is not weakened by Jnana, Karma, Yoga, etc. So it is pure. Jnana, Karmadi, Anavrita Shraddha. That is called as Sudrida Nischay Shraddha. Otherwise, how could Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami call it Sudrida Nischay and also say Kanishta Shraddha? Kanishta Shraddha. Shraddhavan jan hai Bhakti Adhikari. One who has Shraddha is Bhakti Adhikari. And amongst Bhakti Adhikaris, there could be Uttama, Madhyama, Kanishta. And who is Kanishta? Yobhavet Komala Shraddha. Sakanishto Nigatit. He has weak faith. So if he has weak faith, then how can you call it Sudrida Nischay? It is contradictory. So therefore, Sudrida Nischay should mean pure and not just strong.
Right. So karma, jnana, obviously, karma is generally taken as karma kanda stuff. Anyway, most of it may not be. Generally, in this Kalika atmosphere, it is more also good desires. So that is also karma, which also may not be.
Yeah, fruitive desires are there. But as long as the fruitive desires are there on the level of conditioning, it is okay. If it is there on the level of faith, it is not okay. So we can have fruitive desires as abhilasha or fruitive desire as an anartha. If you have fruitive desire as an anartha but not an abhilasha, then it is considered to be uttama bhakti on the level of sadhana. If you have that same fruitive desire on the level of your abhilasha, what is the meaning of having it on the level of abhilasha? You are performing bhakti to fulfill that desire. Then it is mixed devotion.
I mean, first, so we were talking about Shraddha. So in Komala Shraddha, let's say some fruitive desire is not fulfilled.
Fruitive desires means abhilasha or anartha?
Anartha, but it can come in the way of Shraddha. It can alter the Shraddha.
It will not alter the Shraddha. Like for example, let me forget about bhakti. I mean, don't forget. But when I say for the moment, let us not talk about bhakti, but let us talk about ordinary. Does Shraddha change like that so easily? Like for example, a boy is preparing for his JEE exam. Okay. So when he is preparing for his JEE exam, he wants to watch cricket or whatever. Okay. So he is watching. The desire to watch cricket is an anartha. Okay. Wanting to get into IIT is abhilasha. So when he starts watching more and more cricket, will he start thinking that this wanting to watch cricket will no longer be an obstacle to my joining IIT? It is actually very uncool, like that. Will he start thinking? No. He may feel more and more helpless that I am not able to overcome it. But he will not think that suddenly that actually watching cricket is very anucool for my preparation for JEE, like that he will not start thinking. So when a Komala Shraddha person, when he is affected by his anarthas, he will struggle to continuously physically practice bhakti. But when he comes in touch with some people who say, better than bhakti is jnana. Okay. The jnana marga or the karma marga is more powerful. Actually, you should start practicing karma. Okay. Just by practicing bhakti, nothing will happen. You know what? Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, you see. Karma nyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phala heturbur mate sangosta karmani. Krishna says that. So therefore, Krishna recommends that you should practice karma also along with bhakti. Like that, when someone who has a different shraddha, because the contamination of shraddha happens when someone else is there who has that shraddha. From there, the contamination happens. Merely by anarthas, you do not have transformation of faith. Faith transforms when we come in association of people who have a different shraddha. So therefore, with anarthas, what happens is their progress in bhakti is slowed down. Okay, which means they become very vulnerable. But when they are in a vulnerable state, when they come in touch with some people who have karma shraddha, okay, and they start poking them, quoting from Shastras and all that, then they can change. But anarthas in themselves cannot change Shraddha. Because the change of Shraddha happens at the level of emotions and heart. And anarthas are just conditionings. So they don't have the ability to transform faith. But another person who has a different faith, he can transform. That is possible. Mishap. Yeah, we have to investigate. See, even though, we see that sometimes people fall prey to some anarthas and then they leave bhakti. Okay, we see that. But there would be much more to it than what we actually are observing on the surface. Okay, there could be so many other things that would have been happening. Generally, when people leave, oftentimes the reason they give is not the reason why they leave. Okay. So that we can only understand when out of genuine concern, we try to understand what the person actually went through. Okay. So then you will be able to join the dots. Or sometimes when devotees leave practice of bhakti purely due to anarthas, then that leaving will only be temporary. It will not be permanent. Navai jano jatu katanchana vrajen mukunda sevi anyavad anga samsritim. Smaran mukundangri upaguhanam punar vihatu michen na rasagraho jana. Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that when someone takes up to bhakti and due to some anarthas, if they leave bhakti, okay, Krishna says that I will take responsibility of arranging situations in such a way that he will get remembrance of bhakti. Smaran mukundangri upaguhanam. Upaguhanam means embrace. Krishna says, I will make him remember the fond embrace of my lotus feet. What does that mean? Which means he will remember his good old days in bhakti. Suddenly he will meet someone who was a very good friend when he was in bhakti. Okay. Suddenly, while going, he will come in touch with some prasadam which he liked when he was in bhakti. Like that, Krishna will. These are personal orchestration by Krishna. Okay. And then that will trigger those old memories. And slowly, he may come in touch with devotees. So if we see that we see and we know for sure that someone has stopped practicing bhakti purely because of anarthas, then that would only be a temporary thing. And the temporary phase may continue for a few months, few years, sometimes a decade also. But Krishna will take the responsibility to give him that remembrance and pull that person back. Okay. So now we will start seeing some proofs. Okay, we are talking about this. Okay, desire on the level of Shraddha, desire on the level of Swabhava. To hear it sounds very fascinating, but is it really substantiated by Shastras? This is very important because we should not accept any explanation for which there is no Shastric substantiation. Right? Otherwise, it could be just mental speculation. So we will see some proofs. Of course, we don't have much time. I will choose a few proofs. Okay, and I will share these notes with you. If you have interest, you can read through the other proofs also. We will see some proofs from Bhagavad Gita first. That's our basic grantha. Okay. Okay. First, let's see this. Arjuna speaks. Ata kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. How many of you have heard this verse? Few. Okay, we will see the meaning of this verse. O Varshneya, O descendant of Vrishnis, O Krishna, Ata Kena Prayuktaha, by what? Ayam Purushaha Papam Charati, does the man engage in sin? By what does a man engage in sin? Anichan api, even though unwilling. Baladiva niyojitaha, as if by force. Do you ever perform something without having a desire? Here he says, Arjuna says, Anichan api, he has no icha, but he is doing it. So where is that anicca coming from? Lack of desire, unwillingness. Where is that unwillingness coming from? Huh? Shraddha. Why? Because he knows that it is not correct. Right? That anicca comes from Shraddha. Where is that push coming from? Push to do it, anarthas. Correct? And what does Krishna say in answer to this? Kamayesha, Krodayesha, Rajoguna Samudbhavan. So that is Kama. So that Kama is what we call as Anartha. Right? So the Anicca comes from Shraddha. That is why he sees that act as what does he call that act? Papam. Papam charati purushaha. Otherwise he would not call it papam. Papam means what? That which is wrong. Correct? That which is sinful, wrong. How he is calling some activities as papam? Because based on the Shastras he knows this is not supposed to be done. Right? But still he says, I don't want to do, but I am forced to do. Who is forcing? The conditioning, which Krishna calls as Kama. So, here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, referring to verse 34 about Raga and Dvesha, in this verse, Arjuna asks about the attachment to the objects of the senses, such as enjoyment with others' wives, even though it is forbidden by scripture. It is forbidden by scripture, he knows that. But sometimes he may get attracted to something which is incorrect. Even though without desire to engage in sin. Why no desire? Because of knowledge of the rules and prohibitions of the scriptures. Is it just because of the knowledge of the rules and prohibitions that he has no desire to perform it? If someone has knowledge of rules and prohibitions, will someone not perform it? Huh? What is needed? Shraddha, faith. Okay. Some of you may know what is given in, you know what is written in Quran or Bible, certain things which we may not follow, but it may be given. If you have a knowledge, will you do it? You will not do. Why? Because you don't have faith. So knowledge is not sufficient. Faith should be there. Only when faith is there, it is called as knowledge. Otherwise, it is called as information. Okay. Okay. Yes, this is there in the Shastras. That is not knowledge. This is there in the Shastras, and I am convinced that this is correct. That is knowledge. Okay. So he has no desire to engage in sin because he has faith in the Shastras which says that this activity is sinful. Correct? Therefore, anicca comes. There is no icha. This means that the desire for the object strongly arises under the influence of the object's stimuli. This means that the desire for the object strongly arises under the influence of the object stimuli, which is called as, what is that stimuli? What is that called? Huh? anartha. Okay. Kama or anartha. Okay. Okay. Next, I will read this verse. You all know this verse? How many of you don't know this verse? Everyone knows, right? I will read it and I will read the translation. Please hear carefully. Okay. I know you all have taken prasadam, and after prasadam, it's difficult to focus. I agree, but still. But these are very important points. Please listen very carefully, both to the translation and the commentary that we are going to read. These are very landmark verses. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. Dadami buddhi yogam. Krishna says, I give intelligence. To whom? Tesham. Those people. Which people? Satata yuktanam. What is the meaning of satata yuktanam? Those who constantly desire to be with me. Correct? Those who constantly desire to be with me. And then for that purpose, what do? Bhajatam priti purvakam. They worship me with great love. To such people, what does Krishna do? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. I give the intelligence by which they can attain my direct association. Krishna says. What is the next verse? Tesham Teshamevanu aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atmabhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Correct? What is the meaning of Tesham? Huh? Those. Those refers to whom? This, right? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So who are this? What is satata yuktanam? They constantly desire to be with me and worship me with great love. The next verse he says Tesham, which means it refers to the previous verse because that is a continuation, right? Tesham eva means for them alone. Anukampartam, out of my mercy. Aham, I, Krishna. Ajnanajam tamaha nashayami. I destroy the tamaha. Okay. The darkness. Ajnanajam, which is born out of ignorance. I destroy the ignorance born out of ignorance. Sorry. Darkness born out of ignorance. Atma bhavasto, because I am situated in his heart. How do I destroy? Jnana deepena. Bhasvata jnana deepena. By the shining lamp of knowledge, I destroy the darkness which is born out of ignorance. Of whom? Previous verse. Satata yuktanam vajatam priti purvakam. Which means a person who constantly desires to be with Krishna and worships Krishna with great love, to such a person, Krishna says, I will destroy the darkness born out of ignorance. How can both coexist in the same person? Right? How can both? What is this person? He always desires to be with Krishna. He desires constant association of Krishna. And he worships Krishna with great love. But at the same time, he has darkness born out of ignorance in his heart. Where is the darkness born out of ignorance? In his swabhava. Where is that desire to constantly be with Krishna? Both are desires, right? Okay. One is in his Shraddha as Abhilasha. Another is in his Swabhava as an Anartha. We will read the commentary. This will become very clear. Okay. I will read the statement. Please listen very carefully. Okay. I will ask you some questions based on this. Okay. Okay. For those who cannot maintain their lives without me, Okay. For those who cannot maintain their lives without me, for my unalloyed devotees. What is the meaning of unalloyed? Huh? Nee. Give me the dictionary meaning of unalloyed. Huh? Unadulterated, pure. Correct? Unalloyed means pure. Everyone agrees? For those who cannot maintain their lives without me, for my unalloyed devotees alone. Unalloyed means no other desire, right? Okay, anyways. I reveal in the Atma my dazzling form and qualities and destroy darkness in the form of desires for objects other than myself, born from ignorance in the form of beginningless karma, which covers knowledge. Now, if he is an unalloyed devotee, then where did this desire for objects other than Krishna come from? Or, if there is desire for objects other than Krishna, how can he be called an unalloyed devotee? Unalloyed is faith. And where is this desire for objects other than Krishna? That is there in his Swabhava. So, which means, does Krishna talk about it in Bhagavad Gita or not? Right? Okay. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada says. Srila Prabhupada says, the pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart. And so, please note, Prabhupada uses the word pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. So what happens first? What happens first? Krishna comes first in the heart of a pure devotee. And if he is pure devotee, where is darkness of ignorance? Right? So Prabhupada says, this is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Prabhupada says, this is the special mercy rendered only to the pure devotee. And what is that mercy? Huh? Destruction of ignorance. But that mercy is given to whom? Pure devotee. Correct? So if he is pure devotee, how can there be ignorance? Correct? Srila Prabhupada explains this. Due to the contamination of material association, through many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. What is Prabhupada talking about? Anarthas. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. Pasvata Jnana Deepena. Clear? Is it clear? We will see one more very powerful example. This is a very, this principle is taken to a whole different degree in this Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. How many of you have heard this verse? Right. Apichet, even if suduracharo, the most sinful person, okay, he is not a person who performs accidental sin, most sinful person, suduracharo, but bhajate mam, but who worships me, ananyabhak, with no other desire than to please me. If he has no other desire than to please me, how can he be the most sinful person? Right? So, even if the most sinful person worships me with no other desire other than the desire to please me, I consider that person to be my devotee. Sadhureva samantavyaha. Why? Samyak vyavasito hisaha. As he has fixed himself completely in me. If he has fixed himself completely in Krishna, then how can he be the most sinful person? This question arises, right? Let us see what the Acharyas say. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, my attachment to my devotee is my very nature. This is Krishna telling. That attachment does not decrease even if the devotee commits wrong, for I make him come up to the highest standard. And now Vishwanath Chakravarti explains what is the meaning of Sudurachari. If someone with bad conduct, addicted to violence, addicted to thievery, addicted to adultery, that is Sudurachara, worships me, worships no one except me, and does not follow any other process like karma or jnana, and has no other desire than my desire. How can someone who has no other desire than Krishna's desire be addicted to violence, adultery, thievery? How is it possible? In this line, is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti talking about two different people? Same person, right? Because if he's talking about two different people, it would not make any logical sense. Correct? He says, he is my devotee. So his Ananya Bhak means he has no other desire other than the desire to please Krishna, but he is Sudurachari. Right? So someone may tell Krishna, but considering his bad conduct, how is he a devotee? He is stealing, he is doing all these kinds of nonsense. How is he a devotee? Krishna says, he is to be respected as a devotee because of his devotee qualities. What is his devotee qualities? What is the devotee quality mentioned here? Vajate ma ananya bhak. That is devotee quality. And samyak vyavasito hisaha. He has fixed himself completely. So he says, if you see those devotee qualities, then you don't see the other ones. It is a command. Not doing so is offense. My order is the authority, Krishna says. But they don't stop there. They ask, okay, we will accept him as a devotee, no problem. But when, so he should be considered a devotee in that portion where he worships you. Whenever he worships you, he is a devotee. And he should be considered a non-devotee in that portion where he commits adultery. Correct? So when he is committing adultery, he is your non-devotee. When he is worshipping, he is your devotee. Correct? He says, no. He should be considered as a devotee in all his parts. You should not see his bad qualities at all. Why? Because he is completely convinced. Samyak vyavasitaha. What is his conviction? He makes a splendid resolution. What does he say? I will go to hell for my sinful actions which are hard to give up. I am not able to give up. Let me go to hell for that. But I will not give up dedicated worship of Krishna. I will not give up my dedicated worship of Krishna. This is his conviction. So, this is the explanation of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. Srila Prabhupada writes, the word Suduracharaha used in this verse is very significant and we should understand it properly. Prabhupada says, when a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities. One is conditional, another is constitutional. Does it sound familiar? What is the conditional activity? That which is triggered by Swabhava. And what is constitutional? That which is triggered by Shraddha. Right? As for protecting the body or abiding the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities, even for the devotees, in connection with the conditional life. And such activities are called conditional. But of course, Prabhupada will give little more clarification to it. Besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position and they are technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relationship with the body will parallel one another. Correct? Yesterday we saw some examples of that. What was the example that we saw yesterday for this? Where our conditioned nature will parallel our constitutional expectation. Huh? Huh? Yeah, tug of war is when it is anti-parallel. When it is parallel, what happens? Like someone, even prior to coming to Krishna consciousness, you had a habit of waking up early. Okay. So that can be dovetailed. Sometimes it parallels. But then again, Prabhupada says, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. Right? When your conditioning is not conducive for your practice of bhakti. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. As far as possible. Which means he should not do something which will trigger his conditioning, which is opposed to bhakti. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. Does not disqualify him from what? From performing devotional service and from being called a devotee. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord, being situated within his heart, purifies him and excuses him from that abomination. This verse comes in the 11th canto. Swapada bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhavasya hari pareshah vikarma yachot patitam katanchit dhunoti sarvam hridi sannivishtaha. 11th canto, someone can find out which shloka it is. I think 11.5 point something, I think. Swapada bhajata priyasya. That is the first line. Swapada bhajata priyasya. So, if someone worships the Supreme Lord with love or with affection, tyakta anya bhavasya, without any attachment to karma, jnana, yoga, etc., vikarma yacha utpatitam katanchit. Somehow or other, if he performs some sinful activity, dhunoti sarvam hriti sannivishta. The Supreme Lord situated within the heart destroys that sinful reaction. Did anyone find out the verse number? 11.5.42. 11.5.42. I thought it was 11.5.42, but I thought maybe 11.5.42 is some other verse. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. Prabhupada is warning here. Don't take this as a license to engage in whatever activity you want. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to fall down as previously explained, which means after one reaches the stage of Nishta, then the chances are negligible. No one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high devotee. Okay. Once there was a devotee in ISKCON Chowpatty. So he was traveling in the train and he saw a chain smoker. He was literally a chain smoker, which means he used to light the new cigarette with the old cigarette. Okay. So throughout the day, he used to use only one matchstick. Relay race, one after another, like that. So he was like that. So he met him. Somehow he felt that, I should speak something about Krishna to him. So he spoke. He liked it. And he said, I'll come to temple and see what you do. So he came to the temple. He liked. Then what happened? He started coming for the morning program also. Mangalarti. But what would happen? He would come for Mangalarti. After Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado, he would vanish. Okay. So in Chowpatty temple, the temple is in the first floor, like what you have. Okay. Used to go down. He used to vanish from the temple. No one knew where he went. He would go and smoke one cigarette and come back. Okay. By the time Narsing Aarti starts, he will be there. Then after Tulsi Aarti, he'll be gone. He'll smoke one cigarette and come. And by the time Japa starts, he'll be there. After Japa, every 4 rounds, he'll be gone. Like that. This happened for a few days. And one brahmachari noticed it. Okay. So he became very curious where he is going. So early in the morning, so he one day followed him. After Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado, he said, okay, I will go behind. Okay. So he went outside the gate and he went to a dark corner. He waited. Let me see what he is doing. He could not see anything. So he went this side close and he saw some cigarette on his mouth. He said, caught red-handed. So he went and caught his collar and he dragged him. And he said, you cheat? What are you doing? You're coming to temple and then doing all this nonsense. And when he brought him to light, he saw he had cigarette in his mouth and tears in his eyes. Okay. He had tears in his eyes. And he said, Prabhu, please don't kick me out of the temple. Okay. I was literally a chain smoker, but now I have reduced it to once every half an hour or 20 minutes like that because of bhakti. And I have full faith that very soon I will give up this. Please trust me, give me a chance, don't kick me out. Tears in his eyes, he was crying and begging that devotee. This brahmachari, saffron brahmachari, he was thinking, this person with cigarette in his mouth seems to have much more faith than what I have in the process. Okay. He is smoking and telling me Siddhanta, which I am supposed to sit on the Vyasasana and speak. And he understood that the right thing to do is, if all sinful people are not allowed to perform bhakti, then what is the credit for bhakti? Okay. So he let him come. Say, okay, I will not tell anyone. Okay. But be careful. Okay. Take your time. He continued. Within a few months, he gave up cigarette smoking. After a few years, he got initiated. Then he inspired all his family members. All of them are initiated. Then now he catches hold of many people who have addiction and he transforms them. Okay. Nasha Mukt happened about 2 decades back. Okay. And he's still doing. Maybe he would have taken the oath today. So this is, you can see this. So the point is that, his addiction was due to his swabhava. But once he received the seed of bhakti, it takes some time for addiction to go away. Like the fan takes some time. So while he is smoking, he is trying to stop smoking. Okay. While he is smoking, he is trying to stop smoking. That is the point. Then the next verse, Krishna says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Shipram bhavati dharmatma, very quickly he becomes a righteous person. Shashvat shantim nigacchati, and becomes completely devoid of contamination. So which means the Lord says, whatever contamination is there in his swabhava also will go away very soon. Will go away very soon. O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Pratijanihi, you declare, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, that my devotee shall never perish. So, after hearing this Apichet Suduracharo, people are not happy. They still want to debate with Krishna. So they go to Krishna and they say, how can you accept the worship of such a sinful person? How can you eat the food and drink offered by a heart which is contaminated with lust and anger? How? He is a devotee. Means what? He will offer food and eat. He will offer food and eat means you will eat the food that he offers. This is the question. Okay. His heart is filled with lust, anger, etc. And he is offering food. Will you eat that food? The person is directly asking Krishna. Krishna says, very quickly he becomes righteous. Hear the full thing. The present is used and not the future to express the fact that having committed sin, by remembering the Lord, he becomes repentant and thus very quickly he becomes righteous. So he thinks, oh, how unfortunate I am. There is no one as low as I, bringing bad name to the devotees. Repeatedly, Shashwat, he feels complete disgust for those actions. Nitaram Shantim, Shashwat Shantim Nigajjati. Or the use of the present tense can indicate that in the future he will develop righteousness fully, but even right now it exists in a subtle form. What is this subtle form? In subtle form, righteousness, while smoking cigarette, that the complete disgust to smoking is there. Where? In the Shraddha. So if you're completely disgusted with smoking, why is the cigarette in your mouth? Anartha. In the form of anartha, it is there. Prabhupada gives, Vishwanath Chakravarti gives an explanation. After taking medicine, though the destructive effects of fever or poison remains for some time, it is not considered seriously. So basically, what question that smoker was asking that brahmachari was that, if you have to translate it in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's language, Prabhu, when you have fever, after you put paracetamol, you at least wait for 1 hour to check your temperature again. Correct? So now when I have this fever of smoking and I have started taking the paracetamol of bhakti, are you not willing to wait for 1 hour till this fever will go away? That is the question he is asking. Right? Thus, with the entrance of bhakti in his mind, the sinful actions are not taken seriously. Why? Just like after taking paracetamol, even though immediately the fever will be there, but it is not taken seriously because you know that the medicine will work. And the traces of sin, such as lust and anger, should be considered insignificant, like the biting of a toothless snake. Thus, he attains complete cessation of lust and anger permanently. In Nigachati, Ni stands for Nitaram, completely. Now I will read the next sentence. You have to explain what it means. This means that even during the stage of having tendency to commit sin, he has a pure heart. What does this mean? If he has a pure heart, he has no tendency to commit sin. If he has a tendency to commit sin, he does not have a pure heart. Now, what does it mean? Even during the stage of having the tendency to commit sin, he has a pure heart means what? Huh? Where is the purity and where is the tendency to commit sin? Huh? Where? Okay, simple question. Where is the purity? Shraddha. Where is the tendency to commit sin? Swabhav. Is that not what this verse is talking about? Right. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada says. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. It's a fair question. Okay. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yasyasti bhaktir harava bhaktasya kuto mahatguna. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all the material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. So, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, very soon he becomes a Dharmatma. So, there was once Bhakti Vinod Thakur had a dream. He had shared about this dream with his son, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, who narrated it to his disciples sometime. In this dream, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was in hell, Yamaloka. Okay. And in Yamaloka, Lord Shiva, Yamaraj, and Narada Muni, all 3 of them were sitting and having a conversation. What they were discussing about? Bhagavad Gita. They were discussing this particular verse. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. So, they were discussing, one of them asked, Krishna, in the 2nd verse of Bhagavad Gita, 2nd verse of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he calls bhakti as dharmyam. Rajavidya rajaguhyam pavitram midamuttamam pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. He calls it as dharma. So anyone who is engaged in bhakti, he is dharmatma. So Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Very quickly he becomes a Dharmatma means what? How can a Dharmatma quickly become a Dharmatma? So you look at you tell a student that don't worry, very soon you will become a student. You will say, I thought I was already a student. Okay. So Krishna calls bhakti as dharma. Okay. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idamuttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam, Dharmyam. So if it is already dharma, why is Krishna saying Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma? Very soon he will become a Dharmatma. So Narada Muni, Lord Shiva and Yamaraj, were trying to understand this, and then they concluded only a Vaishnava can answer this question. Okay, we should look for a Vaishnava. So they were looking around and they saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is 12 Vaishnava tilaks glowing in his body. They saw, look at there is a Vaishnava. We can ask him, maybe he might be able to help us. So they call Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and they ask, can you please explain? Krishna says a bhakta is engaging in dharma. So any devotee, even if he may be a durachari, because he is practicing bhakti, he must be dharmatma. But why does Krishna say, Shipram Bhavati, very soon he will become a devotee. Very soon he will become a dharmatma. How do you explain? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, what does that previous verse say? Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadureva samantavya samyak vyavachito hi sah. Krishna gives an instruction. Even though you may see some conditioning in a devotee, you should see him as a devotee only. So he says, anyone who sees a devotee with a conditioning as a devotee, he says, he will become a dharmatma. The devotee is already a dharmatma. But the person who chooses not to judge a devotee, he becomes a dharmatma, he says. All three of them are very happy. Oh, this makes sense. So which means, if a person, even though he may see a conditioning in a devotee, if he chooses not to judge that devotee and says, oh, he's practicing bhakti now, so, that will be taken care. So which means, a person who chooses not to judge a devotee, he says, he becomes a dharmatma, Shipram Bhavati dharmatma, like that. And they're very happy. Okay, this is a very fair understanding, like that. So like that, there are many verses from Bhagavad Gita to substantiate this point. Okay. Okay, we will see one or two verses from Bhagavatam also. Okay. In the beginning of the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5th canto ended with the description of the hellish planets. Okay. So, after hearing about the description of the hellish planets, actually Parikshit Maharaj was feeling very compassionate. How can these people be saved from going to hell? How can these people be saved from going to hell? So he asked. And Shukadeva Goswami said, Shukadeva Goswami wanted to test Parikshit Maharaj. He said, oh, Karmakandiya Prayaschitta. So, Gurunam cha Lagunam cha Guruni cha Laguni cha Prayaschittani Papanam Gyatvoktani Manishibihi. No. For small sins, there are small Prayaschitta. For big sins, big Prayaschitta. If he performs Prayaschitta, it will be alright. Parikshit Maharaj was not at all happy. He says, Drishta Shrutabhyam Yat Papam Janan Abhi Atmano Ahitam Karoti Bhuyo Vivashah Prayaschittam Ato Katam. Even though the Jiva knows that sinful acts are detrimental by seeing and by hearing, he still helplessly commits sin again. What is the use of atonement which cannot destroy the desire to sin? Vachin nivartate abhadrat vachit charati tatpunah prayaschittam ato apartam manye kunjara shauchavat. Sometimes he refrains himself from committing sin, and at other times he commits sin. This is like an elephant taking bath, which takes bath and again comes and showers mud on its body. So he says, therefore I consider this prayaschittam ato apartam. Therefore I consider this prayaschita as useless. Useless. So now, not only is Parikshit Maharaj rejecting the Karmakandiya Prayaschitta path, but he's rejecting it for a reason. What is that reason? The tendency to commit sin is still there. Even after performing prayaschitta, they seem to be committing sin again. Don't you see this tendency in devotees also? Right? After taking up to bhakti, they commit sin again. Then they continue bhakti. Then after some time, they may commit sin again. But interestingly, when Shukadeva Goswami gave the option of bhakti, Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agam Dunvanti Kartsnena Niharamiva Bhaskara. He says, Kevala Bhakti. Only by Kevala Bhakti it is possible. What Parikshit Maharaj should have told? Kvachin Nivartate Abhadrat Kvachit Charati Tat Punaha. Hari Bhaktim Ato Apartam Manye Kunjara Shauchavat. He should have told. Right? He didn't say. He was very happy. Why? Why? Correct. He gives the example of the sun, Niharameva Bhaskaraha. But that is not seen in devotees. The Icha is there, that's why they are engaging in sinful activities. Why didn't Parikshit Maharaj reject bhakti as a path? Why he didn't call that as Kunjara Shauchavat? Why? Because he knew that bhakti is capable of destroying sinful desires gradually. In Madhurya Kadambini, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains, Ekadeshavartini, Bahudeshavartini, Prayiki, Purna, Atyantiki, like that in 5 stages of destruction of anarthas. But it is there. It happens. Parikshit Maharaj being a bhakti yogi, he knew that initially it may be there, but gradually it will go away. He knows that. Therefore, he did not object. Whereas even the best of the Dharma Shastras, which presents exaggerated glorification of the path of karma, they don't say that prayaschitta has the capacity to destroy the desire for sinning. No, there is not a single book which talks about prayaschitta and other this path of karma in the most exaggerated terms. Even those literatures do not say that it is that the path of karma and the path of prayaschitta can actually destroy the desire to commit sinful activities. No. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj does not raise any issue. Okay. So, then he quotes this verse. Sakranmana Krishna Padara Vindayor Niveshitam Tat Gunaragi Yairiha Nate Yamam Pasha Britascha Tat Batan Swapne Pipashyanti Hi Chirna Nishkritaha. Those persons, Sakrit Manaha Niveshitam, who only once absorb their mind, Krishna Padara Vindayoho, the lotus feet of Krishna, Swapne Api, even in dreams, Tat Gunaragi, even though the mind still has material attraction, with the mind which still has material attraction, Na Pashyanti, they do not see Yamam Pasha Britaha Tatpatan, the servants of Yamaraj with Yamapash in their hands. Why? He says, Chirna Nishkritaha, because they have accomplished all atonement by that remembrance. Okay. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, this purification does not depend on a solid basis of bhakti. You don't even need a solid basis of bhakti. Even once remembering the Lord is sufficient. What to speak of many times? Even thinking with the mind is sufficient. What to speak of hearing or uttering the name of the Lord? The mind which is gunaragi, which is materially attracted, even that mind is sufficient. What to speak of that mind which has no material attractions? Thinking even in dreams is sufficient. What to speak of actual meditation? Such persons have accomplished all atonements. All atonements means what? Complete destruction means destruction of material desires also. Otherwise, it is not complete destruction. So, from this statement, the following should be understood. If a devotee practicing pure bhakti, you see the usage, a devotee practicing pure bhakti happens to commit sin again. Okay, it is like the bite of a snake without fangs. Those sins have no significant effect. No significant effect means no significant karmic effect. There is no karma. There is no karmic reaction for that. That condition should not be compared to the elephant taking bath, which is the karmi who again commits sin. So therefore, it is not the same. And Parikshit Maharaj knew it. That is why he did not raise an issue. And he quotes this verse, Apichet Sudarachara, to substantiate this point. Okay. Does this make sense? One more verse we will see. Yascha mudatamo loke, yascha buddhehe param gatah, tavu bhav sukhamedete klishyati antarito jana. So he says, there are two kinds of people who are very happy in this world. Mudatamo loke, the most foolish people, materialistic people, they are very happy. Yascha buddhehe param gatah, and the perfected devotee is very happy. Klishyati antarito jana, the one who is in between, he is suffering. Who is that in between person? Who is the in between person? Sadhakas. Why is the materialistic person happy? He is ignorant of bhakti. Okay. He doesn't know that he will suffering for whatever he is doing. Okay. Basically, because there is no conflict between the desires born out of his Shraddha and Swabhava. What he likes is what he thinks is right. What he dislikes is what he thinks is wrong. So, the guilt or the suffering comes only when they are anti-parallel. And the perfected devotee, whatever he likes is what is right. Or whatever is right, he likes it. Whatever is not like, whatever is pratikul for bhakti, he has no taste. Whatever is anukul for bhakti, he has great taste. There is no tug of war. So, he always, whatever he does, is what is recommended in the Shastra. So, there is no guilt. Whereas the sadhaka is antarito jana, the one who is in between. Whatever he likes, he knows that it is not correct and not recommended in the Shastras. Okay. So, which means when he is doing something that he is recommended in the Shastra, he does not get complete satisfaction because he does not like it. And when he does something which he likes also, he does not get complete satisfaction because the guilt is there, because it is not recommended in the Shastra. Klishyati antarito jana. That is the, okay. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, until now I have been drowning in the sorrow of doubt because of ignorance. This is expressed in this verse. One person who is the most foolish, like an animal, whose intelligence is engaged in enjoying material objects, and another person who has achieved the Supreme Lord, who is beyond matter. These two persons increase happiness by deriving bliss from either material objects or the Lord without suffering. The suffering comes from guilt. There is no guilt. Guilt free. Okay. There is one near to Chaupati temple. There is a cake shop. Okay. And the name of the cake shop is guilt free. I don't know why they put it like that. Okay. He who desires to reject the material world by examining the suffering cannot accomplish this without attaining bhakti. He who is between the two suffers in the ocean of doubt by not having either type of bliss. He cannot enjoy both. For the higher type, he has no ruchi. For the lower type, it is mixed with the guilt. It is not guilt free. The upper one is taste free. It's okay. You know, the upper one he has no taste. For the lower one, he has a lot of guilt. He cannot enjoy both. That is the problem. Okay. So this is few verses from Bhagavatam. I will present something from the writings of the Acharyas where they have addressed this. Okay. Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani is a book written by His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. Okay. There he writes something. I will read and then I will ask you something. You have to share your thoughts. Maharaj writes, however, devotees who try their best to perfect their sadhana and serve the mission, but who are handicapped by their own conditioned nature, can legitimately expect Krishna's kindness. Can anyone please explain what this statement means? He's doing sadhana. They have anarthas in the form of their conditioned nature. Yeah. Krishna will shower their mercy for what? No. Why he will shower mercy? In spite of his anarthas, he is trying to perform sadhana. Soft-hearted Krishna is sympathetic to the plight of his devotees in Kali Yuga. Thus, if for reasons other than their neglecting the process, they cannot complete their Krishna consciousness, they will receive Lord Chaitanya's gift of love and Srila Prabhupada's promise of deliverance will certainly be fulfilled. Therefore, devotees must practice the limbs of devotion, such as controlling the mind, studying the books, perfecting their japa, and remembering Krishna. They should definitely do it. Okay. And in Madhurya Kadambini also, we saw, the stages of destruction of anarthas. Okay. So, he says, there are 4 types of anarthas. Dushkritotta anarthas, which means unwanted material desires born out of our past sinful life. Sukritotta anarthas, unwanted material desires which are born out of our past pious life. Bhaktiotta anarthas which come in the form of puja labh pratishtha by proper practice of bhakti. And aparadotta anarthas, unwanted material desires which may crop up due to our committing offenses. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakradhakur says that these Ekadesha Vartini means one anartha is gone. Bahudesha Vartini means multiple anarthas are gone. Prayiki means almost everything is gone. Purna means it is completely gone. And Atyantiki means gone to such an extent that they cannot recur back. They cannot come back. So you see here, these anarthas gradually only get destroyed. During Bhajana Kriya, slowly it goes from Ekadesha Vartini to Bahudesha Vartini to Prayiki. These 3 anarthas, first 3. Okay. And it is completely gone only at the stage of Nishtha. And it is gone to such an extent where it cannot return back only at the stage of asakti. But these aparadota anarthas, material desires which are born due to our past commission of offenses, they go away very slowly. At bhajana kriya, only one or two of the aparadota anarthas are gone. At nishta, many are gone. At bhava, almost completely gone. At prema only it is completely gone. And atyantiki, it is gone beyond return only when one becomes a personal associate of the Lord. Okay. So, like that. So, therefore, these are anarthas which can be there while one is practicing. So, pure devotional service. So, these anarthas can be there. Anarthas means unwanted material desires. They are there. They can be there. Now, the most powerful proof is from Jaiva Dharma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, there's a very powerful proof. When I started discussing and sharing these points many years back, I had not yet come across this chapter of Jaiva Dharma. But I remember we were sitting together and discussing Jaiva Dharma at GV, and when we were reading this particular section, everyone was looking at each other's face. Okay, because exactly whatever we had been discussing, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, using the same terminologies, to explain the same concept and by quoting the same verses which we had been discussing. I will read. Jaiva Dharma, as many of you might know, or at least some of you might know, is like a novel. Okay, philosophy given through a story. Okay. So there is one person called as Tattva Chudamani. He's a very or Tarka Chudamani. He is very powerful in debating and Nyaya Shastras and all that. So he is asking this Vaishnava Das Babaji Maharaj, who is a Vaishnava. He's asking, what is Tatvika Shraddha? Tatvika Shraddha is what we are discussing as Shraddha. Okay, Shastriya Shraddha. Vaishnava Das Babaji Maharaj says, simple, guileless faith in the Supreme Lord and consequently sincere bhakti rendered to him is known as Tatvika Shraddha. Faith in bhakti is Tatvika Shraddha. A sincere candidate is given eligibility to perform bhakti by this Tatvika Shraddha. A sincere candidate, if he has this faith, then he can perform, he is given qualification for bhakti. Chudamani asks, some persons have developed faith in the Shastras, but they lack a noble nature. Are they fit candidates for bhakti? What example did we see today? What example did we see today? The smoker. Okay. They have developed faith in the Shastras, but they lack a noble character. Are they fit candidates for bhakti? Vaishnava Das Babaji Maharaj says, one's type by nature, swabhava, is definitely not applicable to the eligibility to perform bhakti, which is solely dependent upon Tatvika Shraddha. The qualification for bhakti is Shraddha, not one swabhava. And then he quotes verses, and guess which verses he quotes. You know this verse? We saw this. What was the, when, in what context did we quote this verse? Definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, right? This verse. Jata Shraddho Matkatasu. He quotes this verse. And he says, look at this. Veda Dukkatmakam Kaman Parityage Apyanishwaraha. He understands that sense gratification leads to misery. Still he is unable to give up sense gratification completely. And then he quotes the next verse also. Proktena bhakti yogena bhajateo masakrit munehe kama hridaya nashyanti sarve mai hridistite. When an intelligent person engages constantly in worshipping me through loving devotional service as described by me, his heart quickly becomes firmly situated in me. Thus, all material desires within the heart are destroyed. Now, Chudamani says, what if I do not accept the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam? Don't quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, I don't accept the authority. Quotes from something else to prove this point. Vaishnav Babaji Maharaj says, we have simply presented the conclusion of all the Shastras. Shastra is one. Even if you do not accept the Bhagavatam, then the other scriptures will harass you with the same conclusion. Okay. You don't accept Bhagavatam, the other scriptures will also harass you with the same conclusion. We do not need to refer to many Shastras. Simply consider what the Gita, a universally honored text, has to say. Okay. And what verses he quotes from Bhagavad Gita? Apichet suduracharo, Shipram bhavati dharmatma. And then he quotes the next verse also. Mam hi partha vyapashritya episyu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tata shudras te piyanti paramgatim. Okay. Whatever, even if one may be a papayoni, he can also attain the ultimate perfection by practice of bhakti. The purport of this is that a devotee who engages in bhakti, hearing topics of Krishna consciousness, chanting Harinam, singing his glories with Ananya Bhak, single-mindedness, even if he is addicted to many abominable illicit activities which go against the scriptural injunctions, must be considered a sadhu because he is on the righteous path being situated in devotional service. Right? So, therefore, these are some proofs. I wish to. So, therefore, you see here in the Shastras, so therefore, a pure devotee is used in different connotations in the Shastras. We will take some examples. I will ask the question. You have to explain why. Jaya and Vijaya are pure devotees, but the 4 Kumaras are not pure devotees. So, in what context can you explain this verse? 4 Kumaras are not pure devotees because they had the contamination of Jnana. And where was the contamination of Jnana? In the faith or Swabhava? In faith. In faith. That is where their goal was not prema, their goal was impersonal liberation. So they are not pure devotees, means they were Mishra Bhaktas, they were mixed devotees. Their faith was impure. Okay. Rupa Goswami is a pure devotee, but I am not. Here, what does purity refer to? What does purity refer to? Swabhava. Okay. What does Rupa Goswami and all of us have in common? Pure faith. What is different? Swabhava. The strength of faith is different. The strength of faith is very weak in our case, absolutely strong in their case. But purity of faith is same. And purity of Swabhava is also different. Now, third statement. Sridama is a pure devotee, but Arjuna is not. Here, what does purity refer to? Shraddha or Swabhava? Who says Swabhava? Whose Swabhava is impure? Arjuna's Swabhava is impure? He was, during Bhagavad Gita? No. That was just an act of Yogamaya. That was just an act of Yogamaya. Yes. How would you explain this? Sridama is a pure devotee, but Arjuna is not a pure devotee. Huh? The impurity is neither in Shraddha or Swabhava, it is in Rasa. So the impurity is not in the form of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. The impurity is in the form of Aishwarya. Sridama is pure means pure Madhurya of Raja. Whereas for Arjuna, that Madhurya is mixed with some Aishwarya, not mixed with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So you see here, the word purity can be used in multiple contexts in the Shastras. Okay, that is purity on the level of rasa. If you see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, talking about the Gopas, Saka Shuddha Sakyekare Skande Arohan Tumiko na Badaloka Tumiyami Sama. So, Saka, the Sakas, the Gopas in Vrindavan, they are set to perform Shuddha Sakya. Shuddha Sakya Rasa. They are supposed to have Shuddha Sakya Rasa. Is there something called as Ashuddha Sakya Rasa? Okay. Rasa itself is possible only when the bhakti is pure. Okay. Both in Shraddha and Swabhava. Then why does he, then doesn't it make, you know, the usage of the word Shuddha redundant here? Sakya Rasa in itself has to be pure, because unless the Shraddha is pure, you cannot achieve Rasa. Okay. And if the Swabhava is not pure, you are not ready to achieve Rasa. Okay. Sadhakas whose Swabhava is still impure, they are not yet ready for Rasa. And mixed devotees whose Shraddha itself is impure, they cannot attain Rasa. So if someone attains Rasa, their Shraddha has to be pure, Swabhava has to be pure. Then why here the usage of the word Shuddha Sakya? It must be a redundant word, or there must be some Ashuddha Sakya also. So Ashuddha Sakya is there. Ashuddha with Aishwarya Gyan. On reverence. Okay. So Arjuna's bhakti is pure in Shraddha, pure in Swabhava. But it is impure because it has a mixture of Aishwarya Gyan. On reverence. Okay. Like that there are, Yei Shuddha Bhaktalaya Karimo Avatar Kariba Vividha Vida Adbhuta Vihar. Krishna says, with these pure devotees. Why does he have to call them pure devotees? They are definitely pure. Ei Shuddha Bhakta means their rasa is pure without any contamination of Aishwarya Gyan. Vrajera Nirmala Raga Shuni Bhaktagan Raga Marge Bhajaye Nachadi Dharma Karma. Krishna is thinking, by hearing about the pure love, Nirmala Raga of Vrajavasis. So, if the Vrajavasis have Nirmala Raga, can Raga be not Nirmala also? Raga means pure attachment to Krishna on the level of prema. Can there be pure attachment to Krishna which is impure? Yes. It can have the impurity of Aishwarya Gyan, not Sattva Rajas Tamas. Okay. And then he clarifies. Aishwarya Gyane te sab jagata mishrita Aishwarya Shetila preme nahi mora prita. Aishwarya Gyane te sab jagata mishrita. Wherever pure devotional service is seen in most of the places in this world, it is mixed with some Aishwarya Gyan. Okay. But Krishna says, but I like that love which is free of that Aishwarya Gyan. Okay. And then there are examples of Kunti Maharani also from Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. Now, the course is over now. We will do a small examination. Okay. So before I tell the examination, I want devotees who would like to take the examination to please raise your hands. Not Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu, you have already attended it. Okay, anyone else? Prabhuji wants to take the examination. Prabhuji wants to take the exam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8. 8 devotees. Okay, let's see. Okay, I will read this. This is from Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani. Okay. The two major challenges that ISKCON faces in fulfilling its preaching mission. Two major challenges. What are they? To transform non-devotees and mixed devotees into pure devotees. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And to transform pure devotees into perfect devotees. Okay, so there are 4 categories of devotees mentioned here. Okay, non-devotees, mixed devotees, pure devotees, and perfect devotees. Okay, now I want you to say, I am a dash, and the dash should be one of these 4. Okay, Prabhuji, you can start. I am a dash. So you have to, this your answer should be in this format. I am a dash of these 4. No, Mike.
I'm a pure devotee.
Wow.
So I just think I'm pure devotee.
No. Only I am a dash. No before, no after.
I'm a pure Vedic sadhana.
That is not one of the options given here. Are there impure Vaidhi sadhana bhaktas?
By definition, that is pure. Absolutely.
Then it's redundant. Yeah. Okay. Who else had raised your hands? Yes.
I'm a pure
Okay. Yes. Who else?
I am a pure devotee.
Okay. You can choose to differ also. You don't have to. I mean, you can have a different answer also. No problem. Full sentence. Okay. So the point is not to prove that you are pure devotees, but just to show that the word pure can be used in this context also. Now, why this is an important discussion is that some people say you are not so pure. You are not so pure, so therefore you cannot give up karma completely. Okay. You think you are a pure devotee, you are a mixed devotee only. If you are a mixed devotee means you have to perform Trikala, Sandhya Vandanam, Shraddha, everything has to be done. Okay. So you do this also. Okay. Oh, you think you are fully dependent on Krishna? You have to depend on Prayaschitta also. You know why you are suffering? You have bad karma. Go to the astrologer, find that out. Okay. Find out what is your problem. Okay. And he will tell you some Prayaschitta and you have to do this Prayaschitta. Yes. The Shastras say that, it is, these things don't apply for pure devotees. But you are not pure devotee. You and me, can we call ourselves as pure devotees? No. Like that. You have to do this, you have to do that, everything they say, which in our Sampradaya, many of those things are not there. Okay. So, now the point is, if they manage to convince you that you are impure, then their argument is that you have to do all these things because you are not pure. So, but what is Bhagavatam's teachings? Akama, Sarvakamo va, Mokshakama udaradihi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Whether you have no material desires, Sarvakama, all material desires, or desire for liberation, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Still, you should do Tivra Bhakti. What is Tivra Bhakti? Jnana Karmadi Anavrita Bhakti. So even if you agree that these are not anarthas but abhilashas, still the recommendation of Bhagavatam is Tivra Bhakti, not Mishra Bhakti, not Jnana Karmadi Avrita Bhakti. So therefore, this very argument that do you think you are so pure that you can give up this thing, this thing, this thing, that argument itself is not a valid argument. Because according to according to Srimad Bhagavatam, even if one's faith itself is not pure also, if they have material desires, still the best process that Bhagavatam recommends to fulfill those material desires is Tivra Bhakti. So therefore this very argument that you think you are pure, therefore you cannot give it up, is not a very valid argument. So therefore, you will oftentimes face this argument. You think you are pure, it is not for you. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. 100 recommendations will come. But we stick to the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrit, and the teachings of our Acharyas. Okay. The only question is, whatever you are recommending, show it from any of our Acharyas' writings. Okay. Then we will accept. So, their Brahmastra is this. Our Acharyas' writings are all for pure devotees. You are not pure devotee. Okay. So, that is why this whole exercise is relevant to understand, how we are pure. Our practice is pure. Yes, I have not reached the perfection of that pure practice, but you cannot say that my practice itself is impure. Okay. This is the purpose. Okay. So to conclude, Nitya Siddhas like Srila Rupa Goswami, they have pure Shraddha and pure Swabhava. Sadhana Siddhas like Narada Muni, they have pure Shraddha and purified Swabhava, purified by their sadhana. Sadhakas like us have pure Shraddha and purifying Swabhava. And mixed devotees have impure Shraddha. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, we can have, I took 7 minutes more than what Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu said, but I think I started 7 minutes late also. So, yeah, we can open up for some questions, discussion points now. Is there something? Okay. Devotees, yeah, snacks and Q&A will go parallelly. So you can go pick up your snack and then you can come and sit inside and eat, no problem. That would be better. Yes, we can go ahead. Yes, Prabhu. Can someone pass the mic? Can someone take the responsibility of just passing the mic?
As he explained how Krishna sees putting plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, in reality, I've seen that such things. They are actually kind of ostracized, they are kind of removed from the authority.
Yeah.
So, how do you understand? But in reality,
very good question. See, sometimes because you cannot hope to educate everyone in an institution. Okay. So if in an institution you see some people who commit some grave mistakes are not punished, they are kept very much, then it tends to erode the faith of other members, because education will go very slowly. Education will permeate slowly. Before education permeates in, devotees will permeate out. Okay. So you have to stop that. So what can be done? As an institution, you have to take some hard decisions. But as an individual, we have to act with this understanding. As an individual, okay, as an institution, a stance is taken. But as a person, you don't have to reject him. You know that today he performs this mistake, tomorrow I may perform a similar mistake. Okay. So we have to, as a person, we should be very nice to him, give him all the support that is needed. But as an institution, we may not encourage. And even when the institution does not encourage, we have to understand it is with a particular reason. Okay. So the reason is that before the education permeates, devotees may leave. So the education should also go on. Okay. While as an institution, we may have to take, I think only one devotee can distribute. I think there are multiple devotees. One or two devotees is good enough, I think. You can give it to the last person, he can distribute it, pass it on, just like that. Okay. So is that okay, bro?
Actually, is it also that preserve and keep the standards?
Yeah. So when he is excused, people will think that looks like this is acceptable behavior in this institution. Okay. So you cannot give the teachings of Apichet Suduracharo and NOI and all that. They will not accept. It will take time. Before that, they will leave only. So therefore, as an institution, if it is a very serious, unpardonable sin or mistake, then the punishment has to come. Some kind of ostracization may have to happen. But as an individual, devotees should run to that person and be with him. That should be done. And that may be done privately, but that should be done privately. So when Kalakrishna Das was, when he was traveling with the with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he got attracted to the Bhattadaris, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and outright rejected him. Don't come in front of me. So as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him, all the other Vaishnavas, they came and supported Kalakrishna Das. They took him away from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they engaged him in a very sweet service. His only seva was keep shuttling between Navadvip and Puri. From Navadvip, get the news about Chachimata to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from Puri, take message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Chachimata. Okay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected. Okay. But all the Vaishnavas got together and they supported. They became pillars of support to Kalakrishna Das. That way, what happened? He engaged, he continued his wonderful service in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That should be our mood. Even though from an institutional perspective, we may have to take some calls, but as individuals, we have to rush to him and give him support. Because if we don't give support, then how he will get back on track?
Another case that
Yeah. Correct. That is why we are discussing these things. Correct. See, if we don't read this, if even after reading this, the emotions of anger will be difficult to, avoid. Then, if we don't learn these things, then practically we will feel we are entitled to criticize, blaspheme, and throw that person out and punish him and do all those things. But at least if we hear these things and understand, we will at least feel angry and we will not take the second, third, fourth steps.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Ah.
Which is the proper method to transform and not the only whether it's preaching.
Yeah. Preaching only, but what constitutes preaching, we have to see. We have to do the needful. Sometime, if he is not ready to hear about Krishna, then we need not speak about Krishna. We can give him some prasadam. And by that way, when he develops some appreciation towards something connected to Krishna consciousness, he will develop some Agyata Sukriti. So if that Agyata Sukriti he keeps getting more and more and more and more and more, then gradually he will develop faith in Krishna. Then he will become a devotee. Like that. So we just have to give that person favorable experience in bhakti. That's all.
Sadhakas have defined.
Swabhavas.
So the whole process of understanding. That purification is for the Swabhava.
Yeah. Purification of Swabhava and strengthening of Shraddha. Swabhava gets purified, Shraddha becomes strengthened. Yeah. Here and then there.
We have
Oh, they had a impure Swabhava, but Shraddha was there and they got purified. Yeah, you can see Shastras give very rapid transformations. You can see the case of, Prachina Barhi, who had impure faith, and very quickly Narada Muni preached to him, he got pure faith, and he perfected that pure faith and achieved perfection. So, Bhagavatam, just like in a movie, you will see from the birth to the death of the hero in 3 hours, it will be covered. Okay. Even though that which took 70, 80 years. Okay. So like that, Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita will give very, quick descriptions. And Bhagavatam generally discusses mostly the cases of perfected devotees. Mostly sadhakas is not so much discussed, but it will be there. You can see the case of you can say the case of Narada Muni. He got the faith from the Bhakti Vedantas, and then he started practicing, and then his purification happened, and then he reaches the stage of Bhava. The Lord appears and he says purification is not complete, and then he does not give him any more darshan, but then feeling that separation and hankering for that darshan again, he continues Vipralamba Seva, and then further purification happens, he attains Prema, and then he goes back. I like that. Jnana. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, they give instructions
Yeah. Yeah.
How to understand?
According to our Acharyas, they did not get completely transformed because of their offense to Jain Vijay. They attained only a very preliminary form of prema, Shantarati, it is called as. This is the understanding of our Acharyas. Maybe in other sampradayas they have a different understanding. But in our at least Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions that they did not get completely transformed. There was a tinge of jnana because of their offense. They attained only till Shantarati. It did not completely blossom into prema. Yeah, they believe in the personal form. Yes, yes. Correct.
Circumstantial.
Yeah. So that it does not disturb the family members and things like that.
Say,
By whom? And who recommended the astrologer? They means who? The devotees had. So which means the family members had a family astrologer. Okay.
Then, but the devotees are very fixed that bhakti is Shakti.
Yeah.
Prior, they were worshipping the demigod.
Correct.
It's what they were recommended.
Okay.
They really understand concept.
Correct.
Chanting is sufficient.
Yeah.
But the circumstances are such so that, like,
yeah. Krishna cannot protect. What can the demigod do which Krishna cannot do? They just have to have that faith. That's all. Yes, bro.
Thanks. So, question is about Shastras. So, how do we plant Swabha or Shraddha in us?
Into our own life?
Or in our life or others' life? How do we influence the Shraddha to plant Shraddha in us?
Oh, you can plant it when a person who has that Shraddha, if he has a favorable positive influence on the other person, then slowly, that seed gets sown. If a person has favorable experiences in the association of devotees, okay, one devotee gives him some nice food, which happens to be prasadam. One devotee acts as a good friend to him and helps him. One devotee, when he is in some trouble, he gives him some positive guidance, wisdom, and helps him out. So when he experiences these favorable experiences from the devotees, and then he feels completely, appreciation. That appreciation transforms into what is called as Agyata Sukriti or Bhaktionmukhi Sukriti. And that Bhaktionmukhi Sukriti accumulates more and more and more, and it reaches a particular threshold, then it becomes Shraddha, faith. At that time, he becomes a devotee.
Friends, devotees have faith, their practice, but truly experiences them in the institution. Their faith weakens.
Correct.
Obviously, the Swabhava is still continuing. So, what's the responsibility of federal?
Yeah, they should mitigate if they have had bad experiences from the institution. Means what? Some person of the institution. Yeah, if bad influences can weaken the faith, favorable experiences can strengthen the faith. So if they have had bad experiences because of which you see their faith weakening, then we give them favorable experiences so that that faith can strengthen.
Do we need to practice tolerance for some period, or because sometimes they are not in a position to even listen or not?
So if they are not willing to listen, then we don't have to tell them anything. We just have to be nice to them. So help can be rendered by giving advice. Sometimes not giving advice can be the best help, because when they are not ready to listen. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
That devotees or they are not obligated to that stuff.
Correct.
Then two shlokas.
Yes.
Karmani could be and then Yeshwar.
Correct.
So this Karmani, so it is said that unless one wants to an advanced stage
Okay.
of your devotional service,
Okay.
one is still obligated, should not take the risk of not acting according to the principles of the injunction.
Okay. So let us go to that very verse that you quoted and see what the Acharyas explain about that verse. Okay. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata. (11:29). 11.20.9. Okay. So, in fact, interesting, the Acharyas quote this verse exactly for the opposite reason. I will read. I'll zoom it a little bit if possible. So it's already 200%. Okay. Okay. So I'll read this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. As long as one does not become detached from daily and periodic duties, or has not awakened faith in the hearing topics about me, one must perform one's prescribed duties of Varnashrama. I'll read again. As long as one does not become detached from daily and periodic duties, or has not awakened his faith in hearing topics about me, one must perform one's prescribed duties of Varnashrama. I will read the purport. Please hear carefully. It is natural that the overly attached jiva is qualified for karma. When will he become qualified for jnana and bhakti? He says he should perform his daily and periodic duties. What is daily duty? Trikala Sandhya Vandanam and other such things. What is periodic duty? Shraddha and other such things. Nitya Naimitika karmas. He should perform his daily and periodic duties as long as he has not purified his heart by karmas and has not become detached. Okay. Thus, when he becomes detached, he becomes qualified for jnana. Okay. So, or he should continue his karmas until faith in topics of the Lord arises by sudden mercy of devotees. So, till when one should continue karma? As long as he has either developed faith in bhakti, which in which case he becomes qualified for bhakti, or he should, his swabhava has to be purified by practice of karma, in which case he will become qualified for jnana. So either he should have jnana, jnanadikar, or bhakti adhikar. Okay. Before that faith, he was qualified for karma. Before that, faith. Okay. When faith appears, as explained in the previous verse, he becomes qualified only for bhakti and is no longer qualified for karma. So what is the qualification? Faith. This faith should be exclusive. The person has firm faith that he will reach perfection by hearing about the Lord, not by karma or jnana. This arises only by association with pure devotees. It is said, Shruti Smriti Mamaivagnya Yaste Ullangya Vartate Agnya Chedi Mamadveshi Madbhaktopi na Vaishnavaha. He is quoting he is going to present an opposing argument. The Shruti and the Smriti literatures are to be understood as my injunctions, and one who violates such codes is to be understood as violating my will and thus opposing me. Although such a person may claim to be a devotee, he is not actually a devotee. So someone may quote this verse. If someone rejects the injunctions of the Shruti and the Smriti Shastras, then, I have not shared the screen, I guess. I will share the screen. Okay. So someone may say that the Shruti and the Smriti Shastras talk about performing Varnashrama duties. So if you are rejecting it, how are you a Vaishnava? This verse says you are not a Vaishnava. Thus, he says, thus the devotee does not disobey the Lord's order. Rather, when he develops faith, he will never disobey the orders of the Lord. Some persons say that even if he does not obtain the mercy of great devotees and consequently does not develop that faith, on seeing the excellence of other devotees, not great devotees, he gives up karma and takes up to worship of the Lord following his orders. He says, even if someone has not even developed faith, but he just becomes somewhat attracted to some devotees practicing bhakti and seeing that he gives up karma, this is also okay. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says here. Others say that since Shruti and Smriti recommend bhakti and not varnashrama, a person understanding this takes to bhakti even if he does not meet the greatest of the devotees. For the Lord says, Agnyaivam gunan doshan mayadishtan apiswakan dharman santyajya yas sarvan mam bhajet satu sattama. A person who understanding the good and bad aspects of dharma, not that a devotee does not undergo the benefits of performing varnashrama and the non-benefits of not performing varnashrama. He knows that. But still, he gives up all his duties and simply worships me. Krishna says he is the best of all. Okay. Devotees may think that since the devotees are following purely, it is not necessary to follow injunctions and prohibitions of Shruti and Smriti, such as vows like Ekadashi and forbidden acts like putting coconut. Okay. Anyways, I will read one more verse for you. It's a much more famous verse. Okay. You all know this verse. Okay.
Unless we come to the spiritual state.
Okay.
Then that means we can give up our family future.
Okay. Good point. Family duties. So now we have to define what is Varnashrama. Okay. And what is Bhakti. Is taking care of family only within the realm of Varnashrama or is it within the realm of Bhakti also? Bhakti also, right? If someone says Bhakti means only Shravanam Kirtanam and nothing else, then that is an incomplete understanding of Bhakti. Bhakti means Bhakti, the limbs of Bhakti and everything which is anukul for that Bhakti, a lifestyle. Okay. But that lifestyle should be followed not based on the Dharma Shastras, it must be followed based on the Bhakti Shastras. Now NOI is there. Doesn't it talk about lifestyle? Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, etc. So taking care of family, now you see your family members as servants of Krishna and serve them. Will you not be taking care of family? That's all. So now if you wish to call that as Varnashrama, you can. That's okay. Then we accept it, if that is what you mean. But if you say, no, Varnashrama means the Dharma Shastras should also be followed, that is not recommended by our Acharyas. That is not the recommendation of our Sampradaya. I will read one more very interesting verse, which, yeah. Mm. Mm.
One of us actually engaged in advanced Krishna service immediately develops both pure knowledge and detachment from non-devotional activity. That's also pure swabhava.
Okay, so you mean to say Varnashrama has to be followed for purification?
I'm asking.
So
we have an obligation until then.
Okay. Now obligation, no one is shying away from obligation. The question is, how do you fulfill the obligation? Yatataror mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopahara chayatendriyanam tataiva sarvarahanam achyuteja. We fulfill obligations by watering the root. That is our understanding. I will read one very interesting verse. You all know this verse. I am sure there is no one in this room who can say that you don't know this verse. I will read the purport of this and everything will become very clear. Okay. 18.66. Right. Sarvadharman Parityaja. Let's see what the Acharyas say about it. See, responsibility is there. Family responsibility is there. Okay. What is Varnashrama? Dharmasya sankalpo adharmasya varjanam. Whatever the Dharma Shastras say as one has to follow, they have to follow. Okay. Whatever the Dharma Shastras say as being pratikul, one rejects it. Now bhakti. What is bhakti? Anukulyasa sankalpo pratikulyasa varjanam. So whatever is anukul for bhakti, your own and the bhakti of your dependents, you do that. So therefore, if for your dependents, they are dependent on your providing for them. So your engaging in an occupational activity also falls within the category of bhakti. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls them the secondary limbs of devotion. So that is there. Okay. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Okay. So now I'll read here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary to this. So what is the verse prior to this? Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Now the question arises. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Arjuna asked this question to Krishna. Am I supposed to perform the meditation and the other processes along with my Varnashrama duties or without them? This is the question. Krishna answers, giving up all duties of Varna and Ashrama, Sarvadharman Parityaja, surrender only to me. Okay. One should not say that Parityaja means sannyasya, to adopt sannyas order, because Arjuna was a Kshatriya and he was not qualified for sannyas. As well, it should not be said that Lord used Arjuna just to instruct all other people who are not Kshatriyas to take up to sannyas. Okay, because it was not only Brahmanas are qualified to take up to sannyas. For Arjuna was qualified to be the recipient of the Lord's instructions, which could not be taught to others. Nor should one explain the meaning of Parityaja in this verse as merely give up all the results of activities. Okay. For it is said, Devarishi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rinicharajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihatya Kartum. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation and has taken up to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigod, sages, etc. And then he quotes other verses, Martyo yada tyakta samasta karma. Tyakta samasta karma is the same as. And then he quotes which verse you see? Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata. Agnya evam gunan doshan. All these verses which we already saw. So the meaning of the word should thus be explained using all these statements of the Lord with no contradiction. The meaning can indeed be understood correctly by the prefix pari, which means completely. Surrender only to me. This means that there should be no worship of devatas, ashtanga yoga, jnana, or dharma, or other elements in that surrender. Previously, I had said that you are not qualified for Ananya Bhakti, the highest type of Bhakti, and that you are qualified for Karma Mishra Bhakti. When I said that whatever you do, yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat. Okay. But now, by my great mercy, you have qualification for Ananya Bhakti. He is telling Arjuna. That Ananya Bhakti can only be attained by the costless mercy of my Ekantika Bhakta. Though that is the rule I myself have made, I am now giving the mercy myself, breaking my own vow. Okay, like that. So, and by following my orders, you should not fear some loss on your part in giving up Nitya and Naimittika karmas. The order to perform this Nitya karmas was given by me in the form of Vedas. Now I am ordering you to give them up all completely. Is there sin in not performing your Nitya karmas? No. Rather the opposite. In performing Nitya karmas, you will commit sin because of disobeying my direct order. If someone surrenders to you, he becomes dependent like an animal purchased for a price. So this is a verse from the Vayu Puran. Okay, no. He does whatever you make him do. If you put him in one place, he stays there. If you offer him food, he eats. These are the characteristics of surrender. But the Vayu Puran says, Anukulyasa sankalpo pratikulyasa varjanam. Okay. Anyways, these are the limbs of surrender. Okay. So then later he says, then starting from today, if I surrender to you, I should then do whatever you say, whether it is good or bad. This is Arjuna is making this argument. I surrendered to you, then I should do whatever, whether it is good or bad, I should do. If you make me perform dharma, then there is nothing to worry. But if you engage me in adharma, since you are the Supreme Lord and can do whatever you want, then what will happen to me? You engage me in adharma, I have to engage in adharma. Then what will happen to me? Krishna says, I will free you from all sinful reactions, from whatever reactions exist from the far past and recent past, and from whatever reactions arise from acts, I will make you perform in the future. This is not impossible for me to do, though it cannot be done by anyone else to whom you surrender. To the demigods and others to whom you surrender, they cannot give this guarantee. But if you surrender to me, that is Krishna, I can give you that guarantee. Taking you as the means, I am giving instructions to the whole world. Do not feel grief for your own welfare or for the others. May you and all other people giving up all dharmas, your own and everyone else's dharma, absorbing your thoughts and actions in me, surrendering to me, remain in contentment. I myself have accepted the burden of freeing you from the sin and freeing you from samsara, Krishna says. And he quotes this Ananyas Chintayanto Mam verse. Do not lament thinking, oh, I have thrown my own burden on my master. Krishna says, it is no strain for me at all, who am most affectionate to my devotees. Nothing else remains to be instructed. So, if we are not pure, okay, then in our parampara, all the Acharyas would have actually commented on the Dharma Shastras and given that for us to practice. But we don't have a single commentary on any Dharma Shastra by any Acharya of our parampara, which means they want us to practice only Bhakti Shastra. Because if there was a need, then at least one book by at least one Acharya commentary will be there. Zero. Which means we have to have a holistic understanding of Bhakti. Bhakti does not mean, not taking care of your family, not taking care of your other responsibilities. That all falls within the category of Bhakti. It all falls within the category of Bhakti. Now, the injunctions and guidance to practice those responsibilities does not come from the Dharma Shastras, but it should come from the Bhakti Shastras and practicing devotees. That's all.
Just one last. Generally, when we talk about surrender, this is not the highest platform, it's only partial.
No.
Surrender. So that
It is no. No, it is not like that. So now, what I am telling you is, yes, our surrender is incomplete. But now you are pushing that surrender to become impure also by mixing it with karma. Now, incomplete surrender, I can make it complete. But if I make it impure, how will I make it pure? That is why I am again and again telling there is a difference between purity of faith and strength of faith. There is a difference between purity of faith and strength of faith. Pure faith can be weak, and impure faith can be strong. Okay. So yes, our surrender is weak, but we don't want to make it impure. Let it be weak, and by good association, let me make it strong. Just on the pretext of having our faith or surrender weak, we don't want to contaminate it by making it impure. So if it is weak, it's okay. During the course, it will become strong. That's my understanding. Where is Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu? Is there? Do we have time? After that, we will. Okay. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
So this is a tremendous state that devotees understand devotees worship them because with proper understanding their relationship.
It is not needed. It is not needed. You can worship for what purpose? You can do it. It's not needed. Because there are not all demigods need to be pure devotees also. There are many more pure devotees in our parampara. If you have extra time, you can worship them.
I understand that. Relation is between Lord Shiva. I ever was quote some purpose and say that Lord Ganesh should be respected.
Yeah. Yeah, you can respect. No, worship, respect are not same. We respect even the chair, we respect. Okay, respect is a whole different thing. Definitely, if Ganeshji comes or Ganeshji's deity is there, we offer obeisances. Definitely, we'll do that. But that does not mean we will keep them on the altar and worship. That is not needed.
Not on the altar, but in front of the Lord.
Yeah. Ganeshji is there because that was not a temple originally. It was originally something else, and that Ganesh was already there, and Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj has no need to remove. That is the story. Yeah, that is fine. That is okay. Because they are not acting as demigods there, they are acting as servants. They are not demigods per se. Hanumanji is not a demigod. Garudji is the the vehicle of the Lord. It's not a demigod such.
And cookies and other questions are media and
Correct.
that cookies are worshipping Katyayani, but
Correct.
they not to devotions to Katyayani.
Correct. But Jiva Goswami says, even Raganuga Bhaktas, we are just Vaidhi Bhaktas, even Raganuga Bhaktas who are supposed to follow in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis, they should not follow everything that they follow. Certain things should not be followed. And he gives list. The Vrajavasis never accepted any guru. He says we cannot follow that. We should accept guru. Vrajavasis never worshipped the Tulsi plant, but we should worship Tulsi plant. Vrajavasis worship the demigods like Surya and Katyayani Devi. Jiva Goswami says we should never do that. Yeah, they did not worship Tulsi in the form of plant because there was Vrinda Devi there.
This Guru Maharaj was a Krishna or he was a devotee, pure faith, pure devotee, and this all what
He was a Mishra Bhakta, but a Kripa Siddha. A Kripa Siddha. That's a whole different thing. He did not practice sadhana. He practiced Mishra Bhakti, but when the Lord came and touched him, it was a very special case of instant purification of Shraddha. So those are very rare cases. Rajasic, so he wanted material benefits. Why that? Hare. So thank you all very much. Time is up. He is the deciding authority.
Those are the three session association. We want to get back. We are very thankful for the time. Very wonderful table. Experience, understandings, life empowering concepts are the line. We express our gratitude and thanks for offering this wonderful. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna